What's up, my bros? Welcome back to another video, another one, and today is a very special one because today, at least at the time this video is being posted, 1 year of YouTube. Now, I know the mic quality is pretty shitty, but it's for a good reason. I mean, I'm trying to get my mic set up, and probably in the next video, it's already going to be back to normal. Unfortunately, it has to be like this for today, and for the last video, because I was still using the same thing. This is something I've always wanted to do since the beginning, since that first video, the 7th of November 2022, which was doing a tier list of all the horror games that I've played in the channel and out of the channel. So there's a lot of horror games that I've played before that aren't here, but these are all the ones that I've played since that day. We got the S tier, which are the best of the best, my absolute favorites. The A++, which are incredible horror games. The A+, really good ones. A, good ones. B+ are good ones. B is decent, C is mid, and then these are all like bad. Let's get going. This is just my personal opinion. It's also going to contain like spoilers for the games. Yeah, let's get into this with the first game, Penumbra Overture. I've started Penumbra Black Plague, but I still haven't finished it, so it's still not on this tier list. But Penumbra Overture was an interesting game. I really enjoyed it. I think my opinion about the game changed throughout time. I first played it and I thought it was pretty boring. Then I played it again and I thought it was great. The atmosphere, it's incredible. Then I played through the full game, and I think like the game, I could divide the game in like 3 parts, and out of those 3 parts, only the beginning is good. The rest is trash. The beginning where you're in the cave and you're discovering everything is pretty good, but the rest is absolute trash and not really decent. By the way, I am reviewing these games and putting them based on the horror, the story, and the gameplay. And Penumbra Overture, in the beginning of that first of those 3 parts, nails all of those. Horror is great, the tension is incredible, the atmosphere is great, the story, it's unknown, so there's a peak of interest in it, and the gameplay is very fresh, and you don't really know how to use it. But then the other 2 parts, the rest of the game, after the cave section where you open up the hole, where you blow up the hole, it just becomes bad. They start adding things like Red, for example. Red is just such an stupid character, and like it's just a waste of time. I mean, you're not wasting your time hearing him as you're doing stuff, but he doesn't really make sense, what he says and all that. The dogs, which are the main enemies, you can literally just jump over them and they won't even hurt you. And then you got the gameplay, which makes no sense. You would think in the beginning of the game, like, use the hammer to kill and then you'll use the pickaxe to like break stuff. No, the pickaxe is stronger than the hammer. And you'd think like, use the flashlight and like the glow stick only when you're out of batteries. No, the glow stick is better than the freaking flashlight, and it doesn't run out of battery. And like, you would use the flares to drive the dogs away and all that, but then no. Nah. You could just jump over them. So it really just ruins all of that. So, but it's not a bad game. For the beginning of the game, I would say it's pretty good. I would put it above these tiers. I would say I would put it in a B tier, B+. Right over here, it's good, and I would recommend you play this game. But the rest of the game it's not very enjoyable. But now we have Amnesia: The Dark Descent. This game is very special to me. I was really into mascot horror games, and when I played this game, it just brought me to a whole new world, and I understood like mascot horror games, that ain't shit, man. This is the real deal. Even though it's not like one of the best horror games, no, it is one of the best horror games, but it's not like the top of the top. It still is incredibly special to me. I love almost everything, like everything up to the part where you enter the cistern is like incredible. And I love the enemy designs, I love the story is so great. This game was terrifying when I played it. I actually have a playthrough of it on the channel if you want to go check it out. But when I first played this game, it was such an experience that I will never forget. And honestly, for that, I would put Amnesia: The Dark Descent in an S tier. It is, in my personal opinion, an S tier game. One of my absolute favorites of all time. Moving on, we have the sequel, Amnesia: A Machine for Pigs. Quite controversial, but I enjoyed A Machine for Pigs. A lot of people say that A Machine for Pigs is like the worst of the Amnesia games, and it's like it's bad because it's basically a walking simulator, which it is. It is definitely a walking simulator. I wouldn't say that Amnesia: The Dark Descent is, because it has more depth to it, but A Machine for Pigs is with no doubt a walking simulator. But I still enjoyed it, and I think while it was not scary and it mostly relied on jump scares, and they weren't even that effective, the story was great, and the gameplay was like Amnesia's The Dark Descent gameplay, but they took most of the mechanics out. The thing that made me enjoy this game so much, besides the story, is how it visually looks, because while it might not be the best visual look, it's still pretty good. And A Machine for Pigs basically feels like a DLC for The Dark Descent. So for that, I would put it in the B+. Okay, I'm kind of debating between B tier and B+. The beginning of Penumbra Overture is better than the entirety of A Machine for Pigs, but the entirety of A Machine for Pigs is better than the rest of Overture. And especially the story and the dialogue of A Machine for Pigs, it's great. It's incredible. But I think I'm gonna leave it at a B+ below Overture for now. But now, one game that I didn't enjoy as much was Amnesia Rebirth. A lot of people say that Amnesia Rebirth is better than A Machine for Pigs. Like, most people say that. I do not believe that. I think Rebirth was such an annoying game. Like, what it was trying to do, it had an idea, and you can see the idea it had, but it just doesn't go well with it. It tries to bring the mechanics back from The Dark Descent, and while I think the matches is great, like, it kind of ruins it with like the amount that you can carry of matches and oil. It doesn't feel the same as The Dark Descent. Tassie, the protagonist, is extremely annoying. One of the most annoying video game characters I've ever seen. Like, he just won't shut up. Like, goddamn. The story is mediocre. I gotta say that. A Machine for Pigs and The Dark Descent had incredible stories, but Rebirth, like, it just has an absolutely mediocre story. And differently from A Machine for Pigs, I feel like if A Machine for Pigs had a remake, it could be way better than it was. It could have an absolutely incredible remake that would just glow up the game and will put it maybe at an A++. Who knows, even an S tier. But I just think Rebirth is one of those games that you release and then you can't remake it. But it's not a bad game, but it's a mid one, so I'm putting it at the C tier. And then we have Amnesia the Bunker. Amnesia the Bunker is pretty short. It's an interesting new concept in Amnesia, different from all the Amnesia games. When it comes to horror, this game is incredible. It really nails down the horror atmosphere, and the monster just works so well. It's a great game. I really enjoy this game. I don't think it's as good as The Dark Descent, to be honest, as a lot of people say it's better. I don't believe that. The gameplay is, again, really good, incredible, but the story is where it falls. Like, the story is terrible. You have to look for the story. It's hard to find it, because if you play the game without reading anything, just playing through it, you will not understand one bit of what's going on. But I do have to give credit for the rest, because it was a very great game. But still, I wouldn't put it that high, to be honest. Like, this is just my personal preference, but I would put it at the A+. Now we have Soma. Soma is actually a game that I started playing on the channel, and then finished after my break. Because I've been on a break for 3 months. I posted like one video during that break. It was like 2 weeks after I started the break. And now obviously the Slender the Arrival one. And Soma, I never finished playing the game on YouTube. I did finish playing the game, but I never finished the series on the game. But yeah, Soma's great. Soma was really good. I really enjoyed it, especially the story and the ending. How they would move into another body, and they would almost like clone themselves and leave a part of themselves behind. And like, that's just so interesting. And I would absolutely recommend you play this game, even if it's just for the story, because I think it kind of loses its horror by the time, like, by the middle of the game. The gameplay is like almost a walking it's basically a walking simulator, I gotta say that. Yet it was still incredible. And I would put Soma at the A++. And we have Slender the 8 Pages. This was one of the first ones that I played on the channel. And to be honest, while Slender is iconic, and Slender the 8 Pages is an iconic game, just like Amnesia the Dark Descent, it was like one of the titans of YouTube back in the day. It's not really a good game. I gotta say that the game barely has anything. A lot of people remember this game as being great because of what it was their childhood. It wasn't necessarily my childhood, but it's not a good game, to be honest. It's basically just walking with terrible graphics and collecting pages as the spooky white man starts to appear. It isn't scary. It might be scary the first time you play it, but like the second time, it's not scary at all. It's not a bad game, but I still would say Rebirth. I'd rather play Rebirth. I mean, I'm still putting it at the C tier, so I guess I don't dislike it as much. But now, Slender the Arrival is another deal. Actually, Slender the Arrival just had a remaster where they basically pumped up all the graphics, edited a new chapter, and basically I'm not gonna be counting the new chapter because honestly it's not good. It's just a walking simulator. You're just walking, and it's not a good walking simulator, so I wouldn't say it's a good new chapter. So I'm just gonna count the main game with the new graphics, and it is pretty good. I think I enjoy this game. I honestly enjoyed Slender the Arrival. It's a very, very short game. I'd say it's even shorter than A Machine for Pigs. And again, it's a walking simulator, basically. But it still has a lot of interesting factors as a story. I think the story is decent. It's understandable. And now with the new chapter, they're kind of like turning Slender into a bioweapon of some sort. But then you have the horror, and really the only part in the entire game where I've ever felt like any horror tension, I would say it was the Into the Abyss section. I'd say maybe the 8 pages and the farm thing, table CR were good, but the Into the Abyss was the scariest and my least favorite part, as it's just annoying. I enjoy this game. I honestly enjoyed Slender the Arrival, but I wouldn't put it like up here, like this great. I would put it maybe A tier max. I really like the parts where CR appears, especially that final one where he's all burnt up and you hear like the tape and all of that. I like the introduction of different characters like Charlie and Kate, and I'm interested to see S Lost Chapters, which is their next game. It's gonna be a Slender Man game, obviously, and you're gonna have a gun, so I guess like survival horror, possibly. I love survival horror. All right, this game, Slendytubbies 3. I don't know why I play this game, honestly. I just saw it and I was intrigued and I played it, and honestly, it was trash, but I enjoyed it because Slendytubbies 3, it's not like the game is bad and you hate it because of that, like Rebirth. But it's bad, it's like that funny bad that you can enjoy it for being bad. It's not a good game. I'm not gonna say it's a good game. Honestly, I'm putting it on the C tier. And it's only not going on the D tier because it's funny and it's enjoyable for how stupid it is. You could definitely see it was trying to be something more than just a stupid game. And it's free, so I guess I'll give it that. Yeah, it's not scary at all, not one bit. The gameplay is terrible. It goes from first person to fixed camera to third person to all of that. And like, it just doesn't know what it wants to be, so it's kind of weird. I guess we'll leave it at that. Lights off. This is like a little free game on Steam. It took me less than 10 minutes to beat it, and it's basically like you're turning off lights every night during 5 nights. I don't know where I heard that before. And then the final night you have a camera and you need to flash it at the stalker, I guess. I don't know. Didn't really understand what's going on. I know it hurt my eyes. That I know. And it's basically just a stupid little 5-minute game, so I'm putting it on the F tier. Okay, Bendy and the Ink Machine. I know there's a lot of like Bendy fans out there, but I think Bendy and the Ink Machine was pretty mid. Honestly, Bendy and the Ink Machine was like it just stretched for too long when it didn't need to be. It was too much. It was much more than it needed to be, and I think like the chapters, each chapter is kind of like a decline. Like it goes, chapter 1 is the best, and chapter 2. The only difference in that, I would say, the only change in that is that chapter 4 is better than chapter 3. Besides that, it's a decline. Chapter 5 is one of the worst game experiences I've ever had. Looking back on it, it was a terrible game experience. Chapter 5 was so bad. It was absolutely terrible. But I would say it's an interesting concept, and I want to see more of Bendy. I know there's a new game came out. By the time I'm recording this and posting this, there was already a new trailer for a new game, for the third one, and I hope with that one, they give it a little bit more horror, because this wasn't scary at all. So, I am putting it in front of Slendytubbies. 3, but behind Slender. Now we have Bendy and the Dark Revival. Bendy and the Dark Revival is a lot better than the original Bendy. The story, I didn't really like the story. I think it's just too complex. Call me stupid, whatever. I think a story should be simple, but not like simple for a baby. The gameplay was basically Bioshock. This game was literally Bioshock with Bioshock 2's story. It was literally that. And I like it when a game takes inspiration from another one. Like, for example, where is it? Silent Hill 2 and Cry of Fear. But, like, it's basically Bioshock 1 gameplay with Bioshock 2's story. But I ain't gonna talk more about that. But again, I think they could have done way better. And I want to see... And I like this idea. This idea of the ink machine and all of that. And these cartoons coming to life. And turning into these ink demon monsters stuff. I like that idea. I want to see more from that concept, but more in a horrific way. More like Amnesia, The Dark Descent, Resident Evil, Silent Hill, more like that. Yeah, I'm putting it on B. Oh, hell. Hello Neighbor. Hello Neighbor is a tough one because, to be honest, like, I went ahead and played the original pre-alpha for the Hello Neighbor, and it's great. I really like the original pre-alpha because it has an interesting concept and it works well. And I didn't really care for the other alphas. I only compared the original pre-alpha with the full game. Comparing it, the full game is a piece of trash. It is so bad. It is one of the worst experiences I've had. I played the game in like live stream and I played the first act and it was terrible. I decided, let's give it another try. This was at the time I gave Cry of Fear another try. And I'm really happy I gave Cry of Fear another try. So I decided, let's give Hello Neighbor another try. I shouldn't have. I should not have. It just gets progressively worse and worse and worse and worse. It's such a terrible freaking game. Goddamn. It's even worse than Lights Out. Than Lights Off. Okay, maybe not. I haven't played Hello Neighbor 2. I don't want to play Hello Neighbor 2. If I have to, I might play it, but I don't want to. Honestly, I do not want to play Hello Neighbor 2. They could have just ran with the original concept of the pre-alpha and made an actual decent game that would have made a B tier or a B plus for me. Or maybe even an A tier, honestly, because the pre-alpha was really good. But no, they had to just trash it up and make it this whole mascot thing for kids. This game is not scary at all. It's a puzzle game with goofy ass mechanics and the story. Not even to talk about the story, it's terrible. Fierce to Fathom Home Alone. I know there's like 3 more episodes, but Fierce to Fathom Home Alone is free, so I played it. And it's a short little experience, but it's interesting. It capitalizes on a genre of horror that is very unused. Like The Closing Shift, where it's like horror from real life. This stuff happens in real life, man. And in this case, a home invasion. Really, the only scary part in the game was when you had the jump scare with the guy running out of the door, and it was super loud. But I would put it at a C. I would put it below Bendy, but above Teletubbies. Now, we have The Closing Shift. And Closing Shift, it's a bit of a goofy game, not gonna lie, but it's a great one. I really enjoy The Closing Shift. It's again this horror of real life. Because this stuff happens in real life. And it's where you're a girl and you have a stalker. And like, you're working in this cafe. And like, you have the whole making coffee mechanic, which I really enjoy that. It's kind of like a cover-up for the whole behind plot where the stalker is after you. The final moments of the game are terrifying. It's terrifying just looking around and like the moment where you would look at the security camera and there would just be someone in there. It was like heart sinking. Incredible. It's an incredible game. It's about like 1 hour long. 1 hour and a half, max 2 hours long. It's not really big, but I would put it right here next to Slender. I'll put it below because Slender, I'd say it's more enjoyable, although I'd say this is scarier. Now we have Doki Doki Literature Club. I know this shows Doki Doki Plus, but it's the original, not the Plus version. And even if it was the Plus version, I would just play the main game. Doki Doki was like one of those games. Like I thought, what is this, man? Like this gotta be troll. This gotta be like some random trash. Like this can't be horror, man. And like everybody, or maybe it can, but it's probably gonna be trash. And everybody like praising it so much, like, this is incredible, and I'm like, nah, I'm not doing this. And after like 6 years of constantly hearing people praise Doki Doki, I decided, you know what, I'll give it a shot. I hopped in a call with 2 bros, and we started. One of them is actually Ominous Garrido, which used to be Ominous Flint. He just changed up the name. My editor, which is actually editing this video, so say hello to him, man. What's up, bro? But yeah, I hopped in a call with him and another guy, and we just play. I just played the game, and goddamn, it was great. It was really good. It's really able to submerge you. I don't think I've ever read that much in my life, because I read every single text, or nearly every single text. I would not skip that stuff. I would read it, man. And it really got me in the story. It took me about 7 hours, but it was great. And the horror, the psychological horror, people say it's like extremely scary. Oh, breaking the fourth wall, I wouldn't say it's extremely scary. I'd say the horror is pretty good, but it isn't like that big of a deal. But the story is great. It really works well, especially, I don't know, it was just able to put me in this world really well. And the gameplay is basically just clicking left mouse. I would put it at the A++. Maybe at the bottom of the A++, below Soma, but it's great. I actually, for a free game, I think everybody should play this. It's pretty good, unless you get like extremely bored when reading. If you like to read and you want a horror experience, this is for you, man. Okay, Outlast. I don't really need to say much of Outlast. If any of you guys are coming back from the channel and you've been subscribed or seen any of my videos, you know that Outlast is my favorite horror game of all time. It's the scariest experience I've ever had with a horror game. The first time, it's again that Amnesia case where, like, the first time you play Outlast, it's so incredible. Or at least for me, the first time I played Outlast, it's like, it was such a terrifying experience. And looking back on it, I remember it was like I saw this game for the first time. It was back in the day. It was a long time ago, and I saw glimpses of this game, but I kind of forgot about it. And then, like, a friend of mine told me that he had played a bit of Outlast 2. And I was like, Outlast, I think I've seen that before. And I saw Outlast 1. And I said, you know, one day I'm gonna play this game. And I played Amnesia, and like, I would just look at the images from Outlast, and I was like dreading this experience. I was like, holy shit, it's gonna be crazy. And I played Amnesia, it was terrifying. And then I played Outlast, and it was jaw-dropping. It was terrifying every single glimpse of the way. I've never played a game that was able to keep the same tension for the entirety of the game, from beginning to finish. I was always tense. My balls were always going into my throat and all that stuff. It was terrifying. My favorite horror game of all time. So I'm putting it on S tier, above here. I love Outlast. The story, not much on the surface. In the background, it's so much and so great, and it's based on real life happenings. Outlast is a game where you play once, and then either you never play it again and only remember the experience, or you only play it like 10 years and forget everything about it and replay it, and it's terrifying again and unpredictable. But Outlast will always be my favorite horror game of all time. So S tier. Now Outlast 2 is also great. A lot of people like put Outlast 2 down at these spots because it supposedly lost them, and I understand that the story can lose you, definitely. Like the whole story about the cult and all of that, it's not really easy to understand, and where the school comes in. But when, like, you understand the story, it's great, it's incredible. One of my absolute favorite. Very scary, at least for like the beginning of it. After the part where you have to push the card with Marta, up to there, it was absolutely terrifying, just like the first game. The characters are incredible, the story is incredible when you understand it. I'm a guy that likes playing through a game and getting a straight up story. And then if you want more, if you like the story, you go read some notes and go maybe watch a lore video to know more if you like the game. But I really enjoyed it, and the gameplay, it's basically, again, almost like Outlast 1. It has more than Outlast 1 because of like the healing and all of that, and the hearing mechanic with the camera. But yeah, I'd put it in the A++ above all of these, both of these. I really enjoyed Outlast 2. Then we have the Outlast Trials. The Outlast Trials kind of like fell in my regards. I really enjoyed it. It's definitely like the best. Maybe not, because I haven't played many co-op horror game experience. I did it. Like Dead by Daylight is that an absolutely trash experience. I don't know why people like Dead by Daylight. The Forest isn't really a horror experience, although I love The Forest. And Left 4 Dead, I wouldn't really call it much of a horror experience, since it's more like action. Although Left 4 Dead 2 is better than the Outlast Trials, like by a large mile. But the Outlast Trials was definitely great. Like, of horror, it was definitely the scariest of the co-op experiences. The best, I don't know if it is, but the scariest it definitely is. It's great. For an experience with friends, it was scary. It was scary. Although I played it single player and I played a little bit multiplayer, it wasn't with any friends. It was just with random people. It was definitely scary. It was terrifying. It was just like Outlast 1 and 2, but it just doesn't reach Outlast 1 and 2. But I would put it at the A+, because if you have friends that are willing to pay like $30, you should definitely try it out. It's great, but I would put it below The Bunker, honestly. Now we're moving on to Resident Evil, survival horror, like one of my favorite subgenres of the gaming genre of horror. But like Resident Evil 2 Remake, this one was a great one. I'm not really a fan of the over-the-shoulder mechanic, like the third person over the shoulder. A lot of people really like that, but I'm not really a fan of that. It was cool at first, like in these 4 Resident Evil games, 2 to 4, it's great. Like it just becomes boring after all that. But Resident Evil 2 Remake is very good. I still haven't played the first remake. I haven't played Resident Evil 1 Remake, Resident Evil 5, and Resident Evil Village. Or I've played Resident Evil 5, but it was before the 1 year, so yeah, I'm not putting in this. I also played the original 4. Played the original 3, but it was all before the 1 year mark since that first video, so I'm not counting it in. But Resident Evil 2 Remake was incredible. It was like one of those games that like I did not want to stop playing. I was always hooked to it, and very few games do that to me. I feel like I would have had the same thing for these games, besides the fact that these games would just scare me so much that I would just want to stop. I wanted to stop playing it because of how scary they were, and I would like to. I like wanted to take breaks. I was kind of dreading continuing it because I knew I was gonna get scared. This one, like, it was scary. Some parts, it wasn't that scary, but there were some parts that were terrifying. Especially Mr. X. Mr. X was like, jeez, Mr. X was intense. It's a great experience. Like the survival horror is just so awesome. I love survival horror. I would put it at the A++ above all of these again. Above all of these. I think it's better than Outlast 2. Although Outlast 2 is definitely scarier, this is an amazing game. I gotta put it above. Now we have Resident Evil 3 Remake. And, okay, I know I just said I played Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, the original. So you're expecting me to put it, like, on the F tier. But honestly, I enjoyed Resident Evil 3 Remake. Okay, controversial take. Hot take right there. A very hot take right there. But as someone who has played the original Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, I enjoyed Resident Evil 3 Remake. Like, compared to the original Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis was way better, and I think they ruined Nemesis in 3. Like, my only big disappointment of 3 was Nemesis. I was hoping for so much more for Nemesis, and while I like his new design more than the old one, it just didn't make sense him turning into a dog mid-game. Like, he went from this, like, super intelligent being to a dog, and like in the beginning of the game he burst through 3 freaking walls, and then he can't move a bookshelf. Like, what? It's way more focused in action. There were some intense moments, but the horror I didn't really see that much, but it was definitely an enjoyable experience. I played this game in 1 day, so it was very small. Took me about maybe 5 hours to beat it, so it was small. And I like the story. It's interesting. It continues. Jill is one of my favorite protagonists. It really shows the difference from Tassie and Audrey, which are terrible protagonists. But then Jill is like so awesome. Honestly, I enjoyed it. But I think there's like a lot more that they could improve with Resident Evil 3 Remake. And it's a very short game. It feels more like a DLC for Resident Evil 2. And again, like, it's the same thing that I feel with A Machine for Pigs. It's not a great game, but it just feels like it has that Amnesia the Dark Descent vibe that makes me want to play it. Same thing with Resident Evil 2 and 3 Remake. And honestly, I enjoyed 3 Remake more than these two. So I put it in the A tier. Oh my god, this is such a controversial take. But I think it was better than... Nah. I'm gonna put the closing shift above. Right here. I'm gonna say right here. Now we have Resident Evil 4 Remake. Goddamn, another controversial take. Another hot take. I didn't really enjoy the original Resident Evil 4. I don't think it's a masterpiece. But Resident Evil 4 original, the original one, I didn't really enjoy it because I don't know what it was about it. I just didn't enjoy it that much. If I was ranking it, I'd put it maybe at the B tier. But it just wasn't the Resident Evil I wanted. The first Resident Evil game I played was Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. It was like so awesome, so cool, and so scary. And then moving on to Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6, that wasn't like the Resident Evil I was hoping for. That wasn't what I was expecting. And that's why I kind of gave up on Resident Evil until I decided, you know what, I'm gonna play 7. And 7 literally made me love Resident Evil again. And I was hesitant to play Resident Evil 4 Remake because I knew I might get disappointed. Because like people are saying like it's as good as Resident Evil 4 or it's worse than Resident Evil 4. But I decided to play it, and goddamn, I enjoyed it so much more than the original Resident Evil 4. It was so awesome. I loved the story. The gameplay is incredible. Like, if they grabbed this game, the remake, and made a movie out of its plot, that would have probably been one of my favorite movies of all time. Its plot, it's perfect for a movie. Absolutely perfect. Its characters are like some of the best parts. I didn't like Krauser. I did not like Krauser, and I would say Salazar wasn't really that good. But like the rest of the characters, Leon was great. Ashley was not annoying. In my opinion, actually the best. I liked Louise more than Ashley. Not Ashley, Leon. It's a different Leon from what I know from Resident Evil 2, but it's awesome. He's still awesome. The gameplay is great, and like other characters like Sadler, I think he should have gotten more screen time, but he's great. The bosses are great. It's a great game. I love this game. It's incredible. The only like very big flaw that I have with the game is the rocket launcher. The rocket launcher is so OP. Like, I bought the rocket launcher thinking it would do a ton of damage for the El Gigante fight, and I brought it and I missed my shot, and then I saw, oh wait, you only got one shot. What is this? But then like I think it was in the Verdugo fight that I had another rocket launcher equipped in me, and I used it, and like I insta killed the Verdugo. He insta died with the rocket launcher, and I was like, wait, what? And then when I was the Salazar fight, I was taking like 1 hour to beat that fight. It was taking so long. It was a hard fight, and then I had the rocket launcher, and I accidentally like clicked. I had like I think number 8. I accidentally clicked it, trying to put like another gun, and I accidentally shot it, and it insta killed him right in the beginning of the fight. I was wanting to put like I think it was like the sniper rifle or something like that, something with a scope, and I accidentally clicked the rocket launcher, and I insta killed that guy. I discovered, you know what, the rocket launcher insta kills. I'm not gonna use it anymore because I didn't just want to breeze through the boss fights, and the rest I played normally. But besides that, amazing game. Yeah, I would put it right here. Oh, Resident Evil 6. This was like the game that made me stop liking the franchise in the first place until Resident Evil 7. And this game is bad. Like, I don't think it's as bad as Hello Neighbor and Lights Off, but it's bad. So I'm putting it in the E tier. Like, it's too much gameplay. It's an action game, and not like if it was a good zombie action shooter, then maybe I'd give it some credit. But it's not. It's terrible. It's like it's not even well designed. Only Leon's campaign is decent. Besides that, all the other campaigns, they're a waste of freaking time, man. So it's an E tier for me. And now we got Resident Evil 7, the game that made me love this franchise once more. Resident Evil 7 is my favorite Resident Evil game. It is such an incredible game. It has the first-person view. It feels like it's kind of like a mixture of Outlast with PT. Obviously, Outlast, my favorite horror game of all time, and PT, for those who don't know, I don't know how somebody could not know, but for those who don't know, PT was basically for the Silent Hill franchise. It was Konami, and I think Hideo Kojima was still there. He was developing that. It was like PT was for a game. It was a playable teaser for a game called Silent Hills, and basically it was exclusive to the PlayStation 4, and it was a free playable teaser. And it was amazing. It was incredible. One of the greatest horror experiences ever made. But then Silent Hills was canceled, and PT was removed out of the PlayStation 4 platform. And like, you'll see freaking PlayStations with PT for like 100K, maybe. Like, maybe I'm exaggerating, but like, you'll see, like, PT is kind of like a Flappy Bird situation. But Resident Evil 7, the story is incredible. The game terrified me. Again, another terrifying experience. I played this like after A Machine for Pigs, I believe. It was like maybe a month after Outlast, so another terrifying experience. I was not expecting it. Besides like Resident Evil 2, Mr. X, and Amnesia the Bunker, a bit of it and all of that. I think like the only game that's actually made me like terrified to move has been Condemned Criminal Origins, which I am playing at the moment I'm recording this. Like I'm recording this like maybe like a week before, and I'll probably finish it during this week, so I'll add it later to the tier list, like in a separate video that Ominous will add. But Resident Evil 7, I love the story, I love the gameplay. Again, survival horror, so it's an S tier. But again, well, it's not a game I somewhat feel nostalgic to. Although I only played it for the first time this year, I enjoyed it more than The Dark Descent. And yeah, I'm putting it right here, in between Outlast, Outlast 2, and Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Now we move on to Silent Hill. Silent Hill. I mean, besides Outlast and Resident Evil 7 being like my two favorite horror games of all time, Silent Hill might as well like be my favorite horror franchise of all time. Actually, at the time of recording this, another game I'm playing through is Silent Hill 3, which I might add later during the week while Ominous is editing the video before I post it. But Silent Hill 1, such an incredible game. I need to play it again. I want to play it. I'm having a hard time grabbing like an emulator to play it since it's a PlayStation 1 exclusive. There's also for the PlayStation 3, but I don't have like I'm the unlucky number. I got a PS2 and a 4. Like this is in the PS1 and the 3. And I have the 2 and the 4, so kind of unlucky over there, but it's such an incredible game and I want to play it. And I know I'm kind of like breaking the rule of only games that I played like from the first video on, but this game is so incredible. And I have such good memories of this game, of being terrifying. The game, well, it has poor gameplay design because it's 1999. It still hasn't had a remake. And I don't know why they're doing the remake of the second game, which is incredible, when they should do the remake of the first game. But Silent Hill 1, it's incredible. I love the story, and it's a psychological horror experience, and those terrify the crap out of me. So, yeah, I would put this game, honestly, in front of all of these, honestly. Nearly an S tier, but I wouldn't put it in an S tier. Silent Hill 2. Silent Hill 2, I replayed it recently, and it was just so much better than I remembered. I never finished Silent Hill 2 originally because it was just so scary in the beginning that I never finished it. But I always thought maybe it was like an A, like top of the A++, but no, it was so great. And like the biggest thing for me, Silent Hill 2 like moves away from the cultist stuff and goes more to a personal story, which is James' story, and has a lot about depression, where it talks a lot about sexual stuff. Angela, which is the character that you meet in the beginning, in the graveyard, looking for a mother. Like something's weird about her. Like she's saying she's looking for a mommy, and you meet her again with a knife, probably thinking about killing herself, and saying like daddy and stuff, and like out of nowhere just going crazy and saying stay away and dropping the knife. And then later you find her in a room where there's like a boss fight, somewhat of a mini boss fight, where you kill this guy, this weird fleshy table. I knew his name once, but I forgot his name. Something like Daddy. And she definitely has a trauma, calling you pigs and all that, saying that James disgusts her. And if you look at the walls of the room you're in, it's easy to see what like the context of that is. But it's like fleshy walls with holes in it, and then tubes going in and out. And I don't really need to explain what it is, but I think you guys could get there. And then you also got literally like one of, if not the coolest horror character of all time, Pyramid Head. It's just an incredible game. While the boss fights could be better, it's an S tier. I would say Silent Hill 2 is scarier than Resident Evil 7, but I enjoyed Resident Evil 7 more as a game. So I'm leaving it right here, between RE7, Outlast 2, and Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Yeah, Silent Hill 2. Goddamn, this game is incredible. I absolutely love this game. God damn, it's great. But now we have Cry of Fear, since Silent Hill 3 isn't here. Cry of Fear. I had a really weird experience with Cry of Fear. Cry of Fear, for context, is like it's a game made by a very small team. Actually, it's a team of like, I think like 5 or 7 people, 5, 6, 7 people. Like it's a very small team. But Cry of Fear was a mod for Half-Life, a free mod on Steam, you could play Cry of Fear right now for free, and it was basically inspired by Silent Hill 2. Actually, it was inspired by Silent Hill 2. Differently from Bendy and the Dark Revival, that was inspired by Bioshock, an incredible game, and it kind of messed it up. Cry of Fear did not mess it up. Cry of Fear, I would say Cry of Fear is nearly as good, maybe even at the same tier as Silent Hill 2. Cry of Fear is incredible. Cry of Fear is like, it's a first person. I would say it's a very punishing game because of the inventory system, and obviously this was a mod for Half-Life, so obviously the game design isn't going to be that great. It's not even a mod for Half-Life 2, it's a mod for the first Half-Life from 1998. The gameplay, alright, the gameplay isn't the greatest. The game crashes a lot, which, if you're willing to deal with crashing, then I guess you should, even with the crashing, you should play this game. But the story is incredible. Again, being inspired by Silent Hill 2, it has a lot of themes of depression, and especially has the same thing of like, everything has context. It's like, it has a whole different meaning. It's not just a bunch of monsters running through a town and you have to kill them because they're trying to kill you. They all have a whole meaning to the bigger plot and story. And Cry of Fear is incredible like that. Silent Hill does exactly that, and Cry of Fear also does exactly that. And they do it in two incredible ways. And Cry of Fear is a lot about depression and about self-harm. Silent Hill is more about depression and, like, obviously sexual stuff and all that. But Cry of Fear, like, it's incredible. And the horror, the Cry of Fear, again, is also terrifying. Now, I have a weird relationship with Cry of Fear because it was like this. Basically, I had never heard of Cry of Fear before. Never, ever, ever had I ever heard about Cry of Fear. He told me about Cry of Fear. Ominous Garrido. I'm just gonna reference him as Ominous. And he said it was a great game. He really enjoyed that game. And I thought, you know what, I'll play it. And I played the game for about 5 minutes until I got stuck in a window. But that's another story. Then I actually started playing the game normally. Because he really wanted me to play the game. And I played it. And I played it for about, like, until chapter 4, like half of the game. And then I lost all of my progress. Every single bit of progress I was working, all gone. Every single bit. And I was just so mad. I uninstalled the game. And I said, you know what, I'm done with this. I ain't doing this anymore. Forget this. And then, like, a few months later, maybe 2 months, this was like close to the end of my break that I lost all my progress. And maybe 2 months into my break, I saw like a video talking about the Cry of Fear, exactly this Cry of Fear symbolism, the story, and I watched a little bit of it, and I was very intrigued. So I said, you know what, I'll give this game another chance, and I gave it. And I am so glad, absolutely so glad I gave it another chance, as it is now one of my favorite games of all time. So Cry of Fear is incredible. It's free. I mean, these games, you should play them, but they're not free. So you have that. It's hard. But Cry of Fear, like, I mean, Doki Doki is free, but Cry of Fear, like, you have no excuse. It's a free game. But it's going on the S tier. Now I'm putting it right next to Silent Hill 2, as it basically, for me, I think they're in the same level. And now we basically almost only have mascot horror games, so and a bit of other stuff right over here. Dark Deception. This one was a quick one. This one wasn't really that great of a deal. I'm putting it on the A tier. I don't really have much to say about this game. Resident Evil 6 was better. It was basically like, I didn't play the whole game, but because it was kind of boring. But it was basically like monkeys going after you in a maze. It was somewhat intense, but it wasn't really that big of a deal. Oh, 123 Slaughter Me Street. You know, Five Nights at Freddy's started the whole mascot horror stuff. And 123 Slaughter Me Street came like in there and tried to like, was like the first game that grabbed Five Nights at Freddy's, like what made it big and tried to popularize on it. I think the first one that actually popularized on that was Tattletale, but this one was the first one that tried to. It's a pretty bad game. It's very small. The game design isn't that great. The gameplay, it just becomes somewhat tedious, but I don't think it's that bad of the game. Honestly, I enjoyed it more than Resident Evil 6. It's a bad game, but it doesn't deserve to go over here. Even Slender was better. But I'm putting it on the D tier. Okay, I gotta mentally prepare for this one. Five Nights at Freddy's. I used to like this game a lot, and then it started like kind of falling off for me. Like I started like, it's not that good, and then I played Amnesia: The Dark Descent, and it opened whole new perspective of horror games to me, and I was like, what am I doing, wasting my time playing this? But honestly, like the first Five Nights at Freddy's game, like I just don't respect the franchise. I can't respect the first game, but the franchise I cannot respect, man. And especially the community, I cannot respect those guys. Those people are so terrible and so toxic, man. I'm putting Five Nights at Freddy's at a C tier. Yeah, I'm putting it right here, below Bendy. I still enjoyed Bendy more than Five Nights at Freddy's. The second game, Five Nights at Freddy's 2, like the gameplay just becomes so annoying. I mean, the jump scares are predictable. All of the jump scares are predictable, and they're not really scary at all. But yeah, I would put it honestly right over here, above 123 Slaughter Street. Yeah, and same thing for 3. I put it right over here. Five Nights at Freddy's 4. I mean, again, there's more depth into it. It's not just jump scare and stupid gameplay. There's more depth into it, but like it's not much. So I would put it, yeah, honestly, right over here at the C tier. I'd still put it at the C tier. It's not a bad game, but Silent Hill was like, it was stupid fun. So then we have Sister Location, which, yeah, I did not enjoy. I'm putting it maybe over here in the middle of Resident Evil 6 and Dark Deception. It was like so boring and small. It was terrible. The Pizzeria Simulator one was better. I think a D tier. And it's not even scary. Like, the only good part is the Pizzeria part, which isn't even the horror. And then we have Ultimate Custom Night, which is the last one that I played. Ultimate Custom Night is the most annoying game I've played. Like, my 3 least favorite games of all time are Gacha Life, League of Legends, and freaking Ultimate Custom Night. It's an F tier. I enjoyed Lights Off more. Actually, you know what? I enjoy Lights Off more than Hello Neighbor. Let Hello Neighbor die in the trash with this garbage. Alien Isolation was incredible. It gives me Dead Space vibes. I don't think, like, from what I remember from Dead Space and from what I'm playing from Dead Space, I don't think it's as good as Dead Space, but it's incredible. It's terrifying. I gotta give the horror is incredible. It's really terrifying, and the alien AI just works so well to make it that as terrifying as it is. The story, like, I'm a big Alien fan. I like the Alien series. The first Alien movie is like one of my favorite movies of all time, and I really like the second one also. And this game is like absolute fan treatment. It's incredible. This happens like 15 years after the first movie, so it was before the second one. Actually, a cool thing in the beginning of this game, it has it in the intro of this game. It shows like the little final message that Ripley does in the end of the first movie. And for gameplay, the gameplay is awesome. It's like hard to get at first. It's very complex, but like once you get it, which you will get it, it's incredible. I would put this game in A++, above Doki, above Soma. Yeah, I'm putting Alien right over there. We have Limbo. Limbo is a childhood game of mine. I played Limbo a long time ago. It's not really that big of a deal of a game. It's an interesting game. I like its like symbolism and all that stuff, although it doesn't have much. It's a very small game. It's made by the same guys who made Inside. Actually, the only reason I played Inside was because it was made by the same guys from Limbo. But I enjoyed it. I think I might be putting in like B+ in front of these. Maybe even an A. Nah, an A, definitely an A. Right over here, actually, yeah. Now we have Inside. Inside was a game like I was looking at. I was thinking, this isn't gonna be a good game, but I decided to play it because it was made by the same guys that made Limbo. But Inside was definitely not what I expected. It wasn't scary, but it was, like, story-wise and gameplay-wise, it was very good. It was very entertaining and very good. And that ending was so weird and fascinating. I know Inside is a better game than Limbo, but like, and the environment is beautiful, by the way. But I know it's a better game than Limbo, but I want to put it next to Limbo. Yeah, I'm gonna put it right next to Limbo. It's a great horror game. It's basically Limbo, but a bit bigger. We have the first Little Nightmares. I played this one because, I don't know, I had played Limbo and Inside, and I decided, you know what, let's go for Little Nightmares now. And it was a surprise. I thought Little Nightmares was, again, like Doki, one of those overhyped games and overrated games. But Doki ended up surprising me, so I decided, why not give Little Nightmares a chance, because I really enjoyed these two, and because Doki surprised me, so I gave it a chance, and actually, I was pleasantly surprised. Little Nightmares was great. The gameplay was great, scary at some points, but mostly intense, and I didn't really understand the story. Maybe I'll understand more with the second game, which I know it's a prequel, but I would put at the A+, right over here. Now we have Layers of Fear, which is basically a walking simulator. I think I want to put it at the B tier. I'm kind of just running through these right now. It's basically a walking simulator where you're trying to get different parts for a painting of your wife, but then it like goes all distorted. And there's this whole story behind of your wife hating you, and she was like in an accident and all that. But I do think it's a good one. It's not that big of a deal. I think Bendy the Dark Revival has a lot more for it. Layers of Fear, yeah, I put it in a B tier. And Charles, differently from a lot of people's opinion, it was, I liked it. I think it was intense for some parts, and it was cool exploring the world. I think they could make the game better, and I'm hoping for that, but I would put it below Layers of Fear. Baldi's Basics. So I played this game. I already knew about this game like a long time ago, but it's basically like Slender, the 8 pages, but it has a lot more obstacles. There's a lot more to it than Slender. I think it's more of a joke game. The vibe isn't really creepy, although Slender the 8 pages isn't scary at all. It has a lot more than Slender the 8 pages. It's definitely longer. Collecting the books, which are the new pages, are harder because you actually have to do math. Although you can just skip the math and get everything wrong, it won't change anything. But I actually challenged myself to do the math. And there's a lot more characters, a lot more obstacles. You got the bully guy. What's it called? The rope girl. That you need to get like some scissors to cut a rope. You got the principal. I hate that guy, man. Honestly, it's not really that great of a game, but I do have to give it some credit because it's basically Slender the 8 pages, but with more. It's better. So I am gonna put it in front of the 8 pages. Next up, we have Play With Me. This one was a very short game. It took me like 6 minutes to beat it, so it was very short. It was an interesting short game. It wasn't that much. Now, honestly, I'm not gonna say it was an absolute crazy game because it was literally like one of the smallest games I've ever played. It's just a bit longer than Lights Out, but I'm not saying it's a bad game. It was actually an interesting game, a game that didn't maybe not want to play it, but it's not a good game because it's small as hell and it's not scary. It's literally Slender the 8 pages. You have to collect like 4 candles while there's a clown that appears and you can't look at him. So I am putting it on D tier in front of Pizzeria Simulator because I enjoyed it more. So we have Iron Lung. Controversial, but I think Iron Lung is absolutely overrated. Absolutely overrated. The game is like 1 hour long and it barely has anything. It's not scary, and people talk about the meaning behind it and all of that. It's just crappy meaning. It's like I don't understand why people love this game so much. I would put it on the C tier, maybe above Five Nights at Freddy's. Yeah, right over there. Now, Scorn, this was one I bought recently and I played recently. I played it like a day and a half, but it's a very small game. I even got all the achievements while I played. But actually, I think Scorn is underrated. Scorn could have been better, honestly. I think for a game that was in development for 8 years, or maybe 10, I'm not too sure, but I think it was 8 years. I think it's underrated. It was a good game. I really enjoyed Scorn, although there was a lot of things they could have made better for the game, and the game wasn't necessarily scary. It was definitely great. I think the combat was absolutely underrated. I think it was a pretty interesting combat, and the puzzles depends on the puzzle. There were a few good puzzles, like the egg puzzle in the beginning, but then like there's a puzzle where you have to like connect little dots, and that puzzle is terrible. It's one of the worst puzzles I've ever done, but it's a great game. It has a lot of gore in it, and I think it's really cool how in the beginning you play as a protagonist, but then that protagonist turns into a parasite, and then you play as another one, and the parasite is like trying to control you. But it's a pretty good game. I really enjoyed it. I'm not putting it at the A+ because I do think it's like an absolutely must play like these games are, but I would put it in front of Slender the Arrival, honestly. And honestly, changing Resident Evil 3, I would put it over here, and I would decrease Slender the Arrival. Because honestly, I enjoyed Slender the Arrival, but thinking about it, I think I gave it too much credit for being mostly a walking simulator. So I'm bumping it, maybe, I don't know if I put it here, here, or here. Okay, I'm gonna leave that here for now, but I am bumping it down. Next we have Bioshock. Bioshock is an absolute classic. I didn't play the original. I played the remaster, one of the greatest games of all time. It's not one of my absolute favorites, but it's definitely going up here. I would say either in front of below Resident Evil 4. Did I enjoy it more than Outlast 2? Just while in that, I'm gonna bump up Doki Doki a little bit up because I actually enjoyed it more. So, ooh, Bioshock was great. It was awesome. I love the gameplay of Bioshock. I actually spoke about it when I was doing Bendy in the Dark Revival. Okay, I'm gonna leave it like this. I don't know which one I enjoyed more, Outlast 2 or Bioshock. I'm gonna put them right next to each other. Except we have Dead Space. Dead Space is an absolute banger. This is the original. I still haven't played the remake. People say it's better than the original, but I'm not too sure about that. But it's an absolute banger. It's one of my favorite games of all time. I enjoyed Resident Evil 2 more. Honestly, yeah, I'm putting it right over there. It was an incredible game. It's terrifying. The story is incredible. One of the best stories in horror games. The gameplay is amazing. It just feels so good. And it's so interesting. Then we have Condemned Criminal Origins. Now, Condemned Criminal Origins was a game I didn't really know about up until recently. And I heard some good stuff about it. But, like, it was a game that I wasn't really wanting to play anything. I think I was playing The Evil Within. And I decided, I'm gonna play this. Let's go. Let's boot this up. And I played it. And I swear to God, the first chapter of the game was one of the scariest experiences I've ever had with a horror game. I was afraid to take a single step. It was incredible. It was terrifying. But this game, like, it went way above what I was expecting. It was such a great game. The whole premise of the killer, the serial killer that kills serial killers, like, it was just so awesome. Like, you had heard about the matchmaker, you were looking for this guy that was stalking you, and you saw this guy that was obviously the matchmaker, missing his finger, and touching a female mannequin, which was literally how the matchmaker would kill him, being killed like that by this serial killer that kills serial killers. Is like awesome. I would put this game above Silent Hill, honestly. I enjoyed it more than Silent Hill. It was an incredible game. I love Condemned Criminal Origins. And finally, we have Silent Hill 3, which I knew was going to be a good game off the bat, but I didn't know it was going to be as good as it looked to be. It was way better than I was thinking. It's an incredible game. It feels like Silent Hill 2, which makes sense. It came out like 2 years after it, and it was for the PlayStation 2, just like Silent Hill 2. The protagonist is great. Again, it's a direct sequel to the first Silent Hill, so it's more about cult and all that stuff. It doesn't have like it also has like an incredible like somewhat main villain, main antagonist. I wouldn't say that, like the main antagonist of main pursuer, like Pyramid Head. It's Valtiel. I love Valtiel. Not as much as Pyramid Head, but he's another awesome enemy, Valtiel. But for this game, it focuses a lot more on the other world. And it's definitely better than the original Silent Hill, so I would put it at the A++. Again, another game in the A++. And I would put it right above Condemned Criminal, right over here. I don't know, I just love the Silent Hill. They're so great. But now, let me do one last check just to see if I would change things. Maybe I'd put Dark Deception in front of Sister Location. Yeah, it was better. Because Sister Location, I just wanted to stop playing it. I was just like, it was just a bad experience. Dark Deception, at least it had a little bit of fun. Actually, you know what? I'm putting Slendy Tubbies, which is a bad game. I'm not saying it's a good game. It's a very bad game, but it's bad in the way that you play it and you have fun because of how bad it is. It's like goofy. It's very goofy. Yeah, I think I'd bump it up. Yeah, you know what? I'm putting Slender the Arrival over here. Yeah, I think this is pretty great. I think I'm gonna leave it at that. Yeah. Thank you so much, guys, for this last year. It was incredible. I have so much planned for the future. So much videos I want to make. This is just my personal opinion, obviously. If you have a different opinion, I would love to hear your expertise on the subject. I would love to hear your rankings, what you would say, what do you think I did wrong, what do you think I did right, any games that you recommend me to play, horror games, obviously. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye. What's going on, guys? Thomas Animatronic here. Welcome to the very first video of this channel. So, thanks for tuning in. If you're one of the very first viewers of this channel, and let's play some Five Nights at Freddy's. Let's start a brand new game.